Madridistas, welcome back to Madrid. Welcome back to the channel. What a disaster! What a total disaster! What a disaster of a match! What a disaster of a season that could not end soon enough. How on earth did we get from being the reigning champions of Europe, bringing in probably the best player in the world, everybody talking about how dominant Real Madrid is going to be, we're going to win. How did we go from that to what we saw yesterday? This is an unmitigated disaster. We're going to talk about the things that went wrong and the things that need to happen because it's important to learn from these situations. Now, we've had years like this before, and whether this is just a one-off and we bounce back like we typically do, or whether this turns out to be the beginning of a long, drawn-out period of underperformance, whether it's one or the other depends on us. It depends on the decisions that we make. We need to learn from our mistakes and make sure that we don't commit them again. Let me give you my thoughts on this match, the season, and kind of where we go from here. This was awful. Okay, thanks for joining me. Let me give you my thoughts. Let's get started. Madridistas, welcome back to the channel. Okay, let's talk about this match yesterday and have a conversation more broadly about the season, the squad, and where we go from here. This was an absolute nightmare. The first thing I'll say is, congrats to Barca. They won fair and square. They played us off the pitch. This time they didn't even need to activate the refs on this occasion. There was no need for it because they just steamrolled us and they could have scored many more goals. So congrats to Barca. Just very quickly, I also want to say, I had a chance to meet one of my subscribers yesterday, JC, who was over. Didn't have a chance to really talk, but hopefully when you come next time, we'll hang out a little more. But good to meet you, JC. Get back to Connecticut safely. Okay, let's talk about this match. It's unbelievable. I don't know where to start. Okay, in terms of the lineup, we knew what we were going to see, and I mentioned it in my preview. When you have this many injuries, it's not really that surprising. It's easy to guess the lineup. We had Arda Güler playing on the right. It was a 4-4-2, the same format, like when we played against Celta, very similar, except of course the result was very, very different this time. Now, in terms of the match, the first two goals, they felt like a fluke. Okay, like we scored two goals very, very early, but I don't think that those goals were symptomatic of what was happening on the pitch. These felt very much like a fluke. In one case, Barca loses the ball in a dangerous situation because they play this very sort of suicidal high line. We managed to get the ball behind that high line. It was two sort of isolated incidents, but I don't think it reflected what we were seeing on the pitch. So I think it was a little bit, deceiving to be up by those two goals. And then after scoring those two goals, we do the one thing that you cannot do, which I've mentioned a million times on this channel, is don't defend in a low block against Barca. You can't do that. If you just give Barca the ball and you defend too deep, you're going to get killed. This is a team that passes the ball very well. They shoot very well. They're good in the air. They're going to kill you. If you just give them the ball and you park the bus, you're going to get killed. And it's happened every single time, and we don't seem to learn our lesson. It was so frustrating. Now, basically, after the two goals, it was all Barca, nonstop one-way traffic. We couldn't keep the ball. If you notice, we couldn't keep the ball for 2 seconds. This was one of the most frustrating things. Now, if you look at the way Barca plays, it's not rocket science. There are two key things that they do when they play. The one very key thing, I call it swarming. The moment Barca loses the ball, it doesn't matter if it's at the high up on the pitch or further back or the left or the right. It doesn't matter. The second they lose the ball, they apply an incredibly aggressive press right there. It doesn't matter where. The 4 or 5 players that are nearest to the ball will begin to press incredibly aggressively, and inevitably we cough up the ball. This happened over and over and over. And it's mission critical when you recover a ball against Barca. The first few seconds right after you recover the ball are key. You need to hold on to the ball for those 3-4 seconds when they're really putting on the aggressive press. You need to hold on to the ball. We were not able to do that, and we should have known known better, because this is very predictable stuff, and I have to blame Ancelotti for this. Now, we're not going to go through minute by minute. I mean, there's no point. This was one-way traffic. Barca could have scored many, many more goals. They played us off the pitch. We don't need to discuss the match any more than that, but we do need to talk about different subjects. Now, let's talk about Vini. Vini, I don't know what is going on with this guy. One of you guys, somebody has to tell me what the fuck is going on with this guy. Vini is a shadow of who he was. He's a shadow of the player that we saw last year. Last year, he was by far the best player in the world. He was wonderful in La Liga. He was so dominant in the Champions League. I mean, so dangerous. He was the best player in the world. He should have won the Ballon d'Or. He didn't win it because UEFA is trying to stick it to Real Madrid, but he was by far the best player in the world. Now, since he's arrived, Vini has been on an upward trajectory. He's gotten better and better every year, but this year he's taken 2 steps back. And you guys give me a lot of shit in the comment section. Oh, you're so mean, Vini, why? No, I'm sorry. I say what I see, and I can't lie about what I'm seeing. This is not the player that we had last year. And I don't know if it's psychological. Ever since he didn't get the Ballon d'Or, he's had the wind taken out of his sails. And I don't know if that is what is driving this. Is it psychological? Is it a problem with Ancelotti? I don't know. He's playing in the same position, but this is not the same player. We need to sit down with Vini and figure out what the fuck is going on and fix it, because this is unacceptable. Okay, Rodrigo, we need to talk about Rodrigo too. Now, what happened there? Somebody tell me what happened there. He played every minute of every match up until yesterday. And then yesterday, when you need him in those last few minutes, I think it was a good call to leave him on the bench. But in those last few minutes, when you need a goal, Rodrigo's very good when he comes off the bench. Why didn't you deploy him? How can you go from giving him every minute of every match, even when he doesn't play well, to nothing in a match when you actually could use him, and you bring out Victor Munoz? No one's ever heard of this kid. I'd never seen him in my life. There's something fishy going on with Rodrigo. Don't be surprised if he gets sold this season. It's possible that he gets sold this summer. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating for that, but I'm telling you that we have 1 or 2 strikers too many, and it's destabilizing the chemistry in the club. Part of the tension and part of the problems that we're having is because we have too few defenders and too many attackers, and we need to do something about that forward line. Somebody has to leave, and it could be Rodrigo. I'm not necessarily saying, I love Rodrigo. He's been wonderful. He's given us so much glory. He'll always be loved. But it's true that this year he's been very ineffective. We have 1 body too many up front, and if we get a good offer, which we may, because I know that City and United are both interested in him, Rodrigo might be sold. It's just something you guys need to brace yourselves for, because it could happen. Okay, Jude was so disconnected. He just felt so disconnected. He played in the position he should play, as a number 10 behind the forwards, using that middle channel, but it's just he's not connected anymore. It felt like he was working in isolation. It just felt like it was disjointed. Everything he did just kind of felt very individual. And I don't know. It's not the Jude that we're used to, but I don't know how much I can. He always works really hard, and I don't know how much we can blame him or the system and the tactics that are causing this. But Jude was disconnected, and also a shadow of the player that we saw last year. We need to talk about Ceballos. By the way, yesterday when I was watching the match, I'm thinking, watching Ceballos lose ball after ball, I was thinking, how bad are things when you're hoping Ceballos is your saving hero? Like, if your play depends on Ceballos, something is terribly wrong in your life, because Ceballos is just not the caliber of player that should be leading this squad. Very, very disappointing. We need to talk about Ancelotti. Ancelotti, look, we all have enormous affection and respect for Carlo. He's brought so much glory to this club, 3 Champions Leagues, and he's a wonderful ambassador to Real Madrid. He's a great brand ambassador. His demeanor and his conduct are very representative of the values of this club. He's very soft-spoken, very low-key, very ethical, very honest. He's I think very classy and charismatic and diplomatic in his statements. I think he's a wonderful manager that we will always love and respect. But this year has been awful, and so much of it has to do with Ancelotti. Ancelotti needs to leave, and we'll do it graciously and respectfully, but he needs to leave. Now, the big question is when, because Xabi Alonso is coming, and it hasn't been announced officially yet. But the question is, when does he come? Because the Club World Cup is going to start in June, and I would like to see Xabi Alonso come before the tournament. It's not a tournament that any of us really give a shit about. It's one of these, Mickey Mouse tournaments that UEFA and FIFA keep inventing to try to make more money. In the meantime, they're killing our players because there are too many matches in a season. But the question is, can Xabi Alonso come before that? I would like to see that, but it's we're unsure whether that'll be the case. Okay, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now we need Trent desperately on that right back position. Lucas Vázquez yesterday once again was shockingly horrible. I mean, he is responsible for 3 of those goals. I know that the entire team played poorly, but Lucas Vázquez specifically, this is a 33-year-old that was reconverted into right back. This was never his natural position, but he is a player that there's no room for him in Real Madrid anymore. We need to thank him for everything he's accomplished, but Lucas Vázquez needs to go. Now, the question is, when does Trent come? Now, Trent has a contract with Liverpool until the 30th of June, but the Club World Cup starts before that. So there are discussions between Real Madrid and Liverpool to see if we can change the financial terms in order to have him come a little bit earlier in time to play the Club World Cup. Now, whether or not that will be achieved, I don't know, but I know that we're desperate for him to come because anybody would have been better than Lucas Vázquez yesterday. Absolutely incredible. Okay, in terms of other things that look. We have to, it's true, now it is true that we had 7 injuries, and Carlo mentioned it in a press conference after the match. It's true that we have had issues, 7 injuries, very bad luck with injuries. We have players playing out of position. Tchouaméni hates playing center back. So all of this is true. And it's true that we were robbed of tons of points when we had a 7-point lead. All of this is true, but it still doesn't excuse anything. And it still doesn't make me feel any better. Because what you felt yesterday was just a kind of helplessness. It was like watching boys against men. It was just such a feeling of helplessness. I mean, the play was so poor that there's just no excuse for this. I don't care. If you look at the quality of those players, individually, how can players of this caliber play that poorly? It's absolutely incredible. But what are the lessons that we need to take out of this? What have we learned? Because whether this is a one-off bad year, and we've had them before. Whether this is a one-off bad year and we bounce back like we've done in the past, or whether this is the beginning of a prolonged period of underperformance, whether it's one or the other depends on us. It depends entirely on us. What do we do? What did we learn? What lessons do we take away from it? And it's important that we learn from this so that it doesn't happen again. And some of those lessons are the following. Number 1, pay up. Okay, pay up. It is absolutely ridiculous, the situation that we're in now. We wanted Lenny Yoro, and we let him go for what? An extra 10 or 20 million? Who gives a shit? Okay, we generate $1.2 billion in revenues a year. $1.2 billion. It's about 1.1 in euros. It's about 1.2 US dollars. We have plenty of money, and we let Lenny Yoro go for what? Because we're trying to nickel and dime. If you have a target, get him. 10 or 20 million is neither here nor there. That is a lesson that we learned. Look at Alphonso Davies. Why didn't we pounce on that? We didn't. And what happened is he renewed with Bayern Munich. I know eventually he got injured and all that, but it doesn't matter. Why did we let these players slip through our hands? Now we're going to end up paying more money for inferior players. Why? Because we were trying to nickel and dime the players that we really wanted. This is Florentino Perez. He's responsible for this. By the way, when Carvajal got injured, okay, your right back gets injured, and you know that Lucas Vázquez sucks. Why don't you get another right back? What are you waiting for? Even if it's, I don't understand. We have the financial resources to do it, but to just let things go like this is so irresponsible, and Florentino Perez is responsible for this part of it. Okay, another lesson that we need to take from this: only buy what you need. Okay, look, I'm very happy that Kylian is here. He's a wonderful player. He was our best player yesterday, and I know he's going to bring us a lot of goals and a lot of glory. But for heaven's sakes, from now on, just buy players that you need. Okay, we needed a defender. We needed a center back and a left back and a right back. We didn't need another striker. So stop thinking about the commercial aspect of this and start thinking about the play on the pitch. We didn't need to sell more t-shirts. We didn't need more marketing agreements. What we needed was a fucking center back and a left back. So, lesson number 2, commercial decisions should be secondary to sporting decisions, because at the end of the day, the goal of this entire thing is to win matches. Okay, not to sell T-shirts or to have, endorsements, and I know they're important, but they should not be the driving force behind your squad. It should be something to consider, but it shouldn't be the deciding force between who comes and who goes. So yeah, that's another lesson. Just buy what you need, don't be capricious. Okay, number 3, how to beat Barça, because they're going to play the same way next season, and it's not rocket science. You saw Inter do it. It's not rocket science. We know what they do. They play a crazy defensive high line, and they swarm you the second they lose the ball. Okay, well, if you know that, then plan to play accordingly. Make sure you keep possession of the ball the second you recover it. You're going to be under a lot of pressure. Just make sure that when you recover it, you get a lot of support close so that you can oxygenate the bottle out and not lose it immediately after recovering it. Okay, it's not rocket science. We know that they play a very high line, and all you have to do is get behind it, and we have very quick wingers. It's not that difficult. The second you get a chance to put a diagonal through ball out to the wings, you're going to give yourself an opportunity, because it's a suicidally high line. I think teams are going to catch on to this. To be honest, they play very, very well, but they play with very, very clear weaknesses that can be exploited. So, another takeaway is how to beat this Barça side, and I think we know how to. We just have to execute. Look, we need to step back and kind of look at the bigger picture. When Cristiano left, there was all this talk that, Real Madrid is going to go into a slump, a dark age. How are they ever going to come back? Well, we did. 2 years after he left, we had the 1 year of adapting, but 2 years after he left, we won the Champions League again. And then, of course, the talk was Benzema, who was Ballon d'Or, and he was incredible. How's Real Madrid going to recover? It's going to take him years to recover. No, we did it again. We came back. We had that 4-0, at Man City. They killed us. But we bounced right back the following year and won the Champions League. We have demonstrated that we know how to do this. We know how to bounce back. So you need to keep it into perspective. We are who we are. We are still the kings of Europe. It's kind of funny. I was at a bar yesterday with a friend, and there was a kid. The bar was kind of full. There was a kid behind me wearing a Real Madrid shirt. He was there with his parents. One of the parents actually was wearing a Barça shirt, but there were some Barça people sprinkled around in the bar. And as Barça started scoring goals, this kid was really sad. And all the Barça guys were yelling kind of, in everyone's face. And I sort of turned around to the kid and I said, look, whenever this happens and they're screaming in your face like this, there's only one thing that you have to say. There's one magic word that fixes everything. Just look at them and say, 15. That's all you need to say. 15. That's it. The discussion ends right there. So we need to remember who we are. We are the kings of Europe. That will continue to be the case. And in my lifetime, I doubt very much that anybody is going to take our place. So we can bounce back from this. I really believe we can. We need Xabi Alonso to come. We need Trent to start. We need another center back and another left back. And that is an absolute priority. Now, there was some discussion about whether Wirtz would come because Xabi Alonso really likes this player. I think it'll be difficult. I think Xabi Alonso will try to bring him, but I don't think Florentino Perez will pay up because he's going to have to pay up in defense. So I don't think he's going to pay up in the middle of the pitch because, honestly, from the defensive pivot position forward, we're covered. We have wonderful players. We don't need to do anything there. Our problem is in the back line. It's that simple. We need a left back and a center back. And Trent. But look, that's where we are. We're going to bounce back from this. I'm very confident that we will. I will be at the Mallorca match on Wednesday, and they're going to be whistles, trust me. So I'll record some of those, and I'll show you when I do my post-match of the Mallorca match. So anyway, that's where we are. Very sad state of affairs, but we need to just hit the reset button hard and fast. And we need to start over with a new manager, new players in the defensive line, and I think we can come back and be who we are. Okay, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I hate making videos like this, but that's kind of where we are. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for joining me as always. Love you guys, and as always, a la Madrid.